All right, how are you guys doing? You guys are tired in day 2. No? Are you excited for giveaways later? I'm just going to do some rearranging some chairs here. All right, so, stuff changes. But these next 2 gentlemen that we have coming up on stage are 2 people that I've had some time to get to know. They're really awesome. The first person is, I'll just tell you a little bit about them. Arash Malek, he runs the Twitter handle Minimal Duck, and he has a company called ScentWedge. They're here, they have a booth. They make awesome fragrance for your vehicles. It smells great, it's all natural, really, really awesome product. So we're gonna talk to him, and then we're gonna talk to Ryan Levinson, who runs the channel Kilowatts. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it, seen pictures that he's posted on Twitter. He somehow gets a lot of sneak peeks and things of that sort. And we're going to talk to him about what he's been doing and what's to come in the future. Gentlemen.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
How are you guys?
All right, how are you?
I'm doing good. So let's start with Arash. You have been, so you got into Tesla when?
I've been a Tesla fan since 2012, when the Model S really came out, and I was just like, this car is amazing, it's going to change the world. And then I really got involved when the Model 3 started shipping, and started investing, and started creating products. I was doing landscape photography before, and I really found the Model 3 to be my muse and my new subject, specifically for scale and landscapes. And one thing just led to another, and here we are, and it's been an amazing ride.
So before you launched your product, we'll get into that. Did you have a background in, so for those of you guys who don't know, if you follow Arash, his handles at Minimal Duck, beautiful, beautiful drone photography in general, cinematics. Can you talk a little bit, like, how did you pick up that skill? How did you learn that?
Yeah, I studied architecture in school, and a lot of architecture has to do with presentation, and so being able to tell a story. And it started with like stills, and it evolved into moving frames, videos. And that's really kind of the background for it, and it comes from a deep passion of really loving the vehicle, loving the company, loving landscapes, loving what it means together, and being able to have them integrate into one another, and really trying to show that. And it kind of just really evolved. It was like the passion was feeding the business was feeding the passion, and it was just like an evolving circular thing.
And you were able to hone that in on Tesla and really kind of capture the uniqueness, because I don't think there was many doing the shots that you were taking.
Yeah, it was like a unique moment in time because, like I said, I was doing landscape photography, but at the time when I took delivery of the Model 3, I had to sell my landscape gear, so I only had a drone, so my constraint was the drone, and that's what led to capturing a majority of the images with a drone from a different perspective and using the car as like a scale reference for the landscape.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, you would, some shots, hold the drone and use it as a standard camera to capture the shot because you did not have a standard camera.
Yeah. I mean, I think the lack of having things leads to innovation and necessity. Like you start to get creative with what you do and how you create the content to tell the story, and that's really what happened.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, your journey, Tesla.
Yeah.
What brought you to Tesla?
Yeah, in some ways I feel like we're kind of similar. Basically, 2012 Model S. Long story short, my dad was a financial advisor, knew about the company, wanted to better understand it. Being based in the Bay Area, we heard about Tesla early on. And after my parents had a chance to test drive the Roadster, which was never going to be for us, hearing about the Model S, getting excited about the Model S, later buying a Model S, one of the first ones, VIN 967, just kind of slowly started growing my passion for it. And some of it was out of ignorance. I didn't realize that hundreds of companies had tried to do what Tesla was doing. I just knew the products seemed compelling. The lead, Elon Musk at the time was clearly a visionary, and I just thought, why is this not existing? And started to do more research, found out other companies had been trying, but it just seemed so clear and compelling. And similarly, I started doing photography, videography of these products that I loved while I was up at school at the University of Oregon. And it was actually a really fun story of a school project. We had to do 5 media projects on one topic. And so I was like, okay, cool. I want to do my topic is Tesla. And this is 2013. Yeah. So my advisor said, sorry, too small of a topic. Okay, how about electric vehicles? Sorry, too small of a topic. Okay, green energy. So I did all 5 projects on Tesla.
What year was that?
That was 2013.
2013, Tesla was too small a topic. I wonder what that teacher would think now.
Yeah, no, it's pretty insane because, obviously I was in Oregon, a little bit further removed, but Tesla is going to be, for everyone here, I think we probably believe to some degree, Tesla has a high probability of being the biggest company of all time, satisfying the best products with the largest market segments, and it was so clear. It's been clear for so long for so many of us, and it's just a matter of getting that story out. And so I think where we kind of share some common passions, we're just using the skills that we have to help show just how great these products are.
Yeah. So what was your first Tesla that you owned? I know your parents were in it early on.
Yeah. So after my parents bought a Model S in 2012 and in 2016, I was actually working as an intern at the time. Through that 5 projects, I met a guy who referred me to be an intern at Tesla. And so in 2017, when the first Model 3s were rolling out, I had a chance to get one of those. I was sitting next to the digital marketing team the night of the Model 3 event when they actually opened up for customers. I reviewed the copy, and they launched it, and then I ordered it from my phone right there. I was sitting right next to the guys launching the site as an intern. Yeah. And so I bought one of the first ones because I want to see, is this company really all it's cracked up to be? Is this $35,000 car really going to happen? And so I bought dual motor long range, and a week later, with the help of Unplugged Performance, I actually set a cannonball record driving it coast to coast faster than anyone had driven an EV from LA to New York before.
Incredible. It's funny because now hearing this, all 3 of us bought Model 3s, and we'll get into this later, how that Model 3 is the gateway drug to further Teslas. There's some interesting stories behind that. So Ryan, so you left Tesla. What made you start your channel, The Kilowatts?
Yeah, simply put, when I did that cross-country thing, I guess I should say, the reason why I had those 5 media projects, I studied journalism and advertising at the University of Oregon, and so I've always felt that the story of EVs could use some better storytelling. Tesla's a great company, but they don't tell their story, at least until about recently, all that well. I think someone said it yesterday on the influencer panel that, actually I think it was Kyle Connor, said it they've made a much better communication recently. That's the stuff I was always pushing for when I was there, of hey, we need to tell the product story. What does this actually enable? What does dog mode really mean? What's the engineering behind a product like that? And so basically, while I was there, I was on the recruiting operations team, marketing for jobs. I was trying to convince people to work there. And I occasionally got to do actually marketing projects, the Laguna Seca lap or the Model X Falcon Wing door video. But I wanted to tell stories about EVs, so that's why I did the Cannonball Run. Had that on a separate quiet account called @MyModel3. So then when I left Tesla, I just switched that name and became The Kilowatt. So it's always been my passion to want to tell the story of EVs. And so, just basically when the pandemic hit and I was still working in recruiting, I was like, maybe wrong, but I thought we're not going to be recruiting all that much during a pandemic. Now's probably the time that I set sail and actually commit to this vision I had to better educate people, better excite people about EVs with the Kilowatts.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's cool to see how you guys have very similar paths on, you got your vehicles, it was kind of the start of the gateway drug, and then leveraging your passions to continue to use your passions with your vehicle, with what you believed in, green energy, Tesla vehicles, and just photo, video, telling a story and so forth to kind of propel forward. I want to dive into what came after that, because both of you guys took a change after that and took it a step further. This is the continuation of the Tesla drug, right? Once you get into it, you really, really get into it. So Arash, let's start with you. You got your Model 3, you're enjoying it. Where, at what point, and what was that moment that went like, hey, I want to make a product? Because you were working.
Right. Yeah, I had a full-time job. It was really it was actually 2 weeks after ownership where I was just really loving the car, and I was trying to see, like, what are some things that are missing? What are some new opportunities? What is significantly different about this car than any other car at that time? And really, the HVAC system was like a brand new thing. Having a linear ventless HVAC was like huge. And the interior of the Model 3 was significantly different than any other interior. It was super minimal. And so, I vibed with the aesthetics on a deep level. I love minimalist design. And so, I wanted to create a solution that would enhance the ride without being an obstruction, without being visible, to be super subtle. And I have a super sensitive sense of smell, so typical air fresheners were too strong for me. Chemically infused products would give me an instant headache. So, and at the time, I have this dog who would roll around in sulfuric mud, and my car would always smell like rotten eggs. And so she was really the catalyst for creating an air freshener for myself, and then other people were interested in it. I posted it on Facebook. I think that's how we met. And everyone was like, oh yeah, like I want to try. Like I was like, who else wants to try this? And there's a lot of demand, and so I was like, oh okay, cool. So like I formed a company, and everything kind of came together pretty organically. It's called ScentWedge, and that's because it's a scent that you wedge into the linear vent. And it just kind of became this thing, and it's what I do. And I always wanted to do something involved with Tesla because I love the company. I'm fully invested in it, and I love creating content for it. And now it's also a business, so it's like it makes complete sense.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Ryan, now getting over to you, right? You're creating content for Kilowatts, really, really great content, teaching people, taking people through journeys, like actually showing them things that are there. And I believe, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but at some point, and maybe you started this before, at some point you pivoted to also, at the same time, starting a business of your own. Tell us that, like what made you think of that and go on that path as well?
Yeah, so as many people know the Kilowatts, they see the spy photos, they see some of my social media. The way I see my business, it's information and accessibility. So the information is building the hype, getting people excited, kind of being a part of car culture, whether that be with Unplugged Performance at Pikes Peak or, again, spy photos of the new Highland Model 3. Do what I can to get people excited about EVs. And then the accessibility side is a little bit more businessy, but that's where I took that original Model 3 as well as a couple more Model 3s, and I could get into the story, but you guys can ask me about that later. But basically, when the pandemic hit, I sold my original Model 3, bought 2 Model Ys, and the reason why I had all these cars was I was starting to host them on Turo. So I now manage a fleet of 13 vehicles. If I happen to look at my phone now, it's because one of them is being picked up at SFO right now. But yeah, basically I just share EVs with people. It's important to get butts in seats, and you can do that so many ways. I can get people excited from a distance with like posts on social media, but at the end of the day, I think for a lot of people, you got to try it before you buy it. And so Absolutely. Providing that opportunity is really key. And then I'll briefly plug, I'm now taking a step further to launch Dispatch EV, probably launching later this year. We're not quite there yet where we'll be able to say confidently that's what we're doing, but taking that Turo model to the next level, focusing on EVs, is coming soon.
So when you started the Turo journey, right, and you started it early on, did you find that a lot of people were getting Turos? I think it's probably different now. People are probably renting on Turo because they're used to the car. But if you rewind back to when you started, there was probably a lot of people getting it because they just wanted to experience the car, which was not easy. And like you said, butts and seats. So what was that like? Did you have to like sit and kind of go through? It's probably less now, but back then, really showing them how to use the vehicle, and you're kind of essentially selling it to them.
It's a blend for sure, and I think kind of what like Arash was saying, like the minimalist design actually does kind of lead to a lot of what I try to communicate is just poke around, kind of figure out. It's fairly intuitive. You know, the only two things that actually like give me pause for my renters are like, oh yeah, the door handle isn't that lever, it's the button, or like, yeah, where's the charge port? How do I open that? But my goal has been, again, with my communications background, streamline it, simplify it, and basically just encourage people to try it out. You know, you set up your driver profile, then mess with basically any settings, and you'll be good to go. So that's been the approach of just, hey, I don't want to pressure you, I don't want to force you to like do this quickly while I'm standing over your shoulder. Do it at your own pace, drive safe, have fun.
Right. And then just a correction. So you said you had how many cars on Turo?
I manage 12 Teslas and 1 Rivian right now.
And what's the anticipated number? Because this is something that's been teased about, and I mean, share?
Yeah, sure. So at least for what it's worth, I've got 53 Cybertruck reservations, and the idea being that is going to be the best car sharing vehicle. Model Y right now, if anyone in the audience is like, hey, I'm considering maybe doing this, obviously feel free to DM me. But yeah, the Cybertruck being unpainted, being stainless steel, being electric, low maintenance costs, it's going to be, I think, the best vehicle potentially ever to share and get people even more excited about EVs.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to go into next is like, what have you learned in your journey, right? So Arash, right, now you've got you've got your handle, you've got your channel, you're growing, you've got your product now, ScentWedge, people are buying it up. I think before we hit a pivotal point, what are you learning during this journey, or what have you learned in this journey that that you didn't know before?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really learning a lot about how awesome this community is and how similar we all are. A lot of the people I meet, a lot of the customers, we end up talking a lot. We become lifelong friends. I met you guys through the community. And it's one of those things where it's like we have a common interest, and it's not just Tesla, it's actually a lot of things that we find in common. And it's a really, really awesome community to be a part of. And I love it. Like I enjoy talking to everyone because we have a lot of things in common.
I just want to piggyback on that. When I left Tesla, this guy just embraced me with open arms. Same with this guy. The whole community, I mean, separate from being an employee at Tesla and all that, when I left and I was no longer that employee, the community really embraced me. Eli Burton, like some of the people are talking next, like it really has been cool, not just to like feel like, yeah, I can like express thoughts in this space, but that like, yeah, it's a very warm community that if you've got questions, we can all turn to each other. We can, even here we can turn to each other. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, look at this event. Like everyone from Florida to, I don't know the furthest distance that people have traveled for this, but this is like a Tesla pilgrimage in a way. And everyone's out here, everyone's communicating, everyone's chatting, and this community is just, it's amazing, and it's made with all of you and like us. And so it's like, it's pretty epic. You don't see this with any other company.
So that makes us stay. That makes it easy to like want to do more.
Yeah.
And side note to Ryan's story is I didn't even know that I had met Ryan, and Ryan had to remind me that at the Cybertruck launch event, he was working at Tesla.
Yes.
And was like, oh, hey, Raj, like, oh, nice to meet you. I seen your channel.
Yeah, he says the same thing.
And I didn't even know I had met him until later when I knew him as Ryan Kilowatts. He was like, you remember I met you? And I was like, oh, I don't remember.
Yeah,
And now I've been at both of these guys' birthday parties.
Yeah.
Yes.
Engagement party, too. I mean, it's like, Ryan, he always tells me that he moved the rope area.
The stanchion. I was in charge of stanchions
for the Cybertruck so that I could get down and take a photo of the Cybertruck. So
all about that picture. Yeah. Do it for the picture.
So it's cool.
So Ryan, similar question on your end, right? Through your journey, so up to this point now, you've got all these cars on Turo. What have you learned in your Turo journey? And I know one sticks out in my head that you recently posted.
Yeah, I'll let you start.
Well, you made a good post the other day, and I actually read it off to a friend of mine, and it's definitely took me back to understand, like, wow, like this is what Ryan has really learned about Turo, because you've seen who's renting the vehicles, what vehicle works and what vehicles don't. Ryan's talked about a lot of Teslas, but you have also rented out non-Tesla vehicles, and you test and you poke and you see like what's the interest at. It is a business, right? It has to run, and if a car is just sitting and not being rented, not only that, but also what car is the car to start with? And I think that was a really good post. I'd like for you to tap a little
Ironically,
into that.
it was a reply to Arash's post. But yeah, I mean, basically, I recognize a Tesla's not for everyone. And so as a result, yeah, I always try to have a vehicle that's a non-Tesla in my fleet, if not multiple. I've had a Mustang Mach-E. I currently have the Rivian R1T. And yeah, basically, part of what the Kilowatts has been able to do, part of what I've been able to do as a part of the Kilowatts, is review several electric vehicles. I've been out to the Ford F-150 Lightning launch. I've been out to like a whole bunch of these vehicle launches. And yeah, one of the things that kind of, at least the conclusion that I've come to, and I think a lot of people here probably already know, is that the conversation basically should start with Model Y. Why not Model Y? It's this perfect, well-rounded, well-priced vehicle. And so yeah, for example, if you hate Elon Musk, get a Mustang Mach-E. It's basically a Model Y in sheep's clothing. If you need a work truck today, get the F-150 Lightning. Get the long range, you want a Lucid Air. There's a lot of great EVs now, and I think we should encourage. I love what we're doing with this event, having an opportunity for everyone here that may have only ever driven or been in a Tesla, or maybe not even, have a chance to see what else is out there. Because actually, pretty much every car in that field, I could also recommend if there's some reason why the Model Y doesn't work for you. So that, I think, has been the biggest thing, is like seeing that, yeah, we can all drive Model Ys. We're not all going to drive Model Ys. So let's see what else is out there.
Right, exactly. Okay, I got 2 more sections. I want to talk about next in our journey here is, what was the pivotal point? So Arash, we'll start with you, right? In your journey with ScentWedge, right? Everything is going great. You're having a great experience. You're meeting with the community. At what point was it, if you were to think back and be like, that was an awesome moment? I know in my head I've got one, but I want to hear from you. Like, what was that pivotal point where you're like, wow, this, like, I'm doing it. Like, this is, like, wow. Like, what was like that wow moment? You might have 2.
I have a few, but I think one that sticks out immediately was the first time May Musk liked one of my photos on Instagram. It was, one of the first times I, really started posting the car, and she liked it, and I just still remember, like, my heart dropped, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, like, a few days later, Tesla reached out and asked if they can feature that photo, and I was like, of course. And yeah, they started featuring it on Instagram, on Twitter, and I was just blown away, because it was just like, it was cool to see that, something that I, love so much is also appreciated by a company that I love so much. And, that was just fuel to the fire for me to keep producing content and, keep sharing.
You've had a couple times of Tesla using your photos and videos featured from the official Tesla account.
Yeah, which is awesome.
That's
and
cool.
and I always keep it separate. Like, it's always under minimal duck. I don't try and promote the business through that at all. It's my personal art, and Tesla can use it whenever they want for any purpose. And and then on the business side, I also give away those same images as wallpapers for your phones for free. And it's always awesome when like people like are excited about it and they love it and they reach out and they're like, dude, I love your wallpaper. And one of the coolest stories was when you find out like Tesla employees are using your photos as wallpapers, and it's just I don't know, it's really cool to see that.
What about romance mode and Elon's thoughts on that?
That was
to
another
me
one.
was
yeah.
mind-blowing.
And so as part of the business, like, we run a skeleton crew, and so I produce a lot of the content, mostly all of the content. And one of the videos that we wanted to do for fun was really showcase romance mode, which no other car, to my knowledge, has. And one thing that's really sweet about romance mode is it turns on the fireplace inside the car, it turns on the heat, it plays some Marvin Gaye, and you can get frisky in the car wherever you are. And so the video was essentially this couple who are my friends, who are now married and have a baby. They were in a place with a nice view, and she wanted to get frisky. And before she's able to get frisky, my friend stops her and is like, hold on. And everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And he pulls out a ScentWedge and puts it into the vent, and then they, it cuts and they continue. And, that was one of the best, most fun experiences I had ever, like creating a video. And then weeks later, like Elon replies to some other tweet that I wasn't even involved in or anything, and he's referencing this romance mode video with like a crying, laughing emoji, and I just thought that was awesome.
And I think what was very unique, and maybe not everyone would think into this, is that was not a post by you.
That was not.
It was
no.
not a post by anyone, but that meant that Elon went to YouTube, copied the link, and pasted it in a tweet.
Yeah.
But meant he really had some thoughts on your video, and I thought that was really good call out.
Yeah, it was sweet. I mean, I wasn't even tagged in the video or anything. Like other people sent it to me. They're like, "Yo, look!" Like it's funny. And then my friends who were in that video, like they printed out that tweet and framed it, and they're so happy about it. So it was great.
That's awesome.
So like I was claiming, I am having one of my renters get into the car now, but I'm still with us.
Okay.
That's why I'm looking at my phone. Apologies.
So I was gonna ask you the same question, but
Yeah.
what was the pivotal point for you at the kilowatts? And you're going through your Turo. Was there a point where you were like, all right, this is something
Yeah, there were kind of two moments. I'm gonna shoot this guy this, and yeah, it turns out he cracked the key card. That's why that's happening. So that happens very rarely. I've had that happen about 3 times because of the heat. But yes, the moments. So I think the biggest moments, one, being here with you guys and actually having a chance to be here on stage, share my experiences. And the only other biggest moment was I had a chance when John from Tesla Owners Club Silicon Valley was going out to film his interview with Elon. It was 6 months earlier, Elon said, yeah, I'd be willing to do a discussion about the early days of Tesla. 6 months went by, nothing happened. And then John asked again on Twitter, hey, can we do this interview with you? And Elon said, yeah, how about tomorrow? How about Austin, Texas? And so Eli Burton, who's coming on stage after us, and Calvin Gee, John, and I were all in this room in Austin, Texas with Elon Musk just 18 hours after we first heard that we were going to be there. And we were making bets. How long is this interview going to be? And by the way, this interview's on Silicon Valley Owners Club. If you haven't seen it, it's a great kind of moment hearing about where Elon's head is at broadly. But yeah, we were making bets, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. I've still got the note on my phone. And then we spent 3 hours and 50 minutes in a room with him. And again, I was just meant to be the videographer. I was behind the camera. I was like, cool, I get to shake his hand, whatever else. When I was an employee, never got to do that. And 2 hours in, my cameras were dying. I just switched it to 1080, punched it to wide, started asking some questions of my own, and got to ask him some pretty foundational, what is the meaning of life kind of questions. So that was kind of peak, and everything's down from here. This is a great ride down.
No, I mean, you probably never thought you would ever sit in a room with Elon Musk, and getting that call, I would consider it was that's exactly what I had in my head, is that's a moment where you sit there and go wow, what have I done here? This is amazing. I can't believe where I am.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not about wealth, but Elon is the wealthiest man of our generation. He's one of the best inventors, change makers of our generation, maybe in history. And so to be able to be in a room with him for not just a little bit of time, it wasn't like I won a raffle. I put in some work to get there, and I had some great friends that invited me to be there. And then to be able to ask him, literally, what is the meaning of life for you? And have him basically say, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy gave me purpose, and I do this all. I've always had these beliefs about him, especially since I started learning about Tesla in 2010, 2011, 2012. That was my foundational years, 2010 to 2012. And so to have him say, yeah, I kind of see what you see, believe what you believe, was a moment.
Right. Okay, so to wrap up, question for each of you. Arash, we'll start with you, is what's next, right? What's the next thing for for Minimal Duck, for ScentWedge? Is it, we've seen now the journey of the gateway drug and how you guys have grown and evolved your careers and what you guys are doing. What's next?
I'd love to do a road trip through Japan with a Model Y or a Model 3. Maybe when the Cybertruck comes out, go back to Iceland. That's for Minimal Duck stuff.
If you guys have not seen, he did a road trip through Iceland, took amazing photos. It's awesome. He had a car over there, so it's kind of cool because it looked like he physically took his car over there. So that was cool.
Actually, Tesla gave me a Model Y in Iceland.
I know I was hiding that.
And and I didn't take my own car, but it was awesome. It was very, very fun. Exploring the Icelandic landscape in a panoramic Model Y is just next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, same question for you. I think you touched on it earlier.
Yeah, mine's a little bit more of a business plug, but again, Turo is a great platform for car sharing. It universally solves a lot of what people are looking for, but as anyone who's driven an EV knows, there's just that little bit of extra communication, a little bit extra hand-holding. I've said it before, but for example, Turo says, hey, return the car with 90% of a charge. And for anyone that lives in a home more than 10 miles from a supercharger, that might not be the easiest thing. And even then, we know that it charges slower in those last 10% than it did the previous 20. So simply put, we're going to build a platform that more intentionally addresses the issues, the experience, and makes it a great experience for car sharing of EVs, both for the hosts and for the guests. So that's what we're building right now. Dispatch EV, I've got a separate Twitter account for that. If you want to start following that, sign up on dispatchev.com to be one of the first hosts and or guests on that platform. So that way when you travel, the idea is if you leave SFO, you can leave your car there, maybe not even have to pay for parking if someone else books your car while you're out. When you land in SeaTac Airport, there's a car waiting for you, and it feels like your car. Cloud profiles are all copied over. It feels so seamless, and I think we can really reduce the amount of cars in parking lots with something like that until we get true full self-driving when we just call our cars almost like an Uber. But yeah, Dispatch EV.
Absolutely. Just taking what you've had experience with and evolving it. That's awesome. Guys, appreciate all the time here. Arash, thank you for everything you're doing. Ryan, likewise. Guys, let's hear it for our presenters.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys for staying here. I know this was, not planned, but thank you for staying and listening.
If you want to meet Arash and Ryan, will be at the influencer tent for a little bit, and then ScentWedge just a little bit further down. Yeah, we have a booth here, so come experience our scents. They're all natural. They're made out of wood, and they're for Model 3 and Model Y specifically. And check out our website. There we go.
There you go.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.